So we're doing a plant tour today because that's what I promised. So we have the friends that I'm looking after these days. So we got my little rubber plant. He is unnamed at the moment, but he is my little goth son because he's such a dark color. Love to see it. He requires a lot of sunlight, which I did not know it when I originally bought him. I thought he was another low light plant because he was in that section. But nevertheless, I'm going to do my best to keep him as well as I can. Right here we have my two pothos that I picked up from Walmart, and they were part of a 4 for $10 sale. And it was very exciting because I got them and my spider plants, which we'll look at in a little bit. But I'm not quite sure what variety they are, but they seem to be very small. I think they are in fact grown from seeds and not from cuttings, just because of like, they tiny. And generally, in my own research, I haven't come across any tiny variants of pothos, so I do believe that these are in fact from seedlings. Whereas we have this friend here, who I actually took from the pothos in the office, and these are just cuttings. I am growing them in the soil. There's another method you could do this in, which you grow them in water, which I will show you in a little bit. But yeah, that's this is pothos number 3. Here we got an unknown plant. It came in like a perennial basket, and I had it like, it used to be a much bigger plant, but it started dying, so I took a bunch of cuttings off of it and propagated them, and these are some of the results. The other ones are outside in an urn, but I wanted to keep these ones as a little pet, and I think she's doing okay. We tried to put it out earlier in the spring, and it got frost damage, so these were the rescues from that, and I think it's doing pretty well. Now, in this corner, we got my 2 spider plants and also my snake plant. Focus, there we go. So these are also finds from Walmart, and I think they're doing really well here. Like, we got a lot of new growth happening here on this plant. You can see here at the bottom, a little one here. And what I'm really looking forward to is when these guys get big enough and they start producing what I recently found out are called spider pups, which I think is adorable. And that's when they'll essentially grow little tiny versions of themselves off one of their leaves here. And then from there you can snip those off and propagate them, and then you just have a bunch more spider plants. It is a delight. And then up here we have my snake plant, my beloved. He's doing his best. He's kind of gotten a lean to him because I had him over on the shelf with the other little baby plants, and he was getting specific sunlight, so he's trying to grow that way. So hot tip, always rotate your plants. If you see them leaning in a specific way, it encourages more even growth over time. Yeah, that's a hot tip for you today. Oh, other little thing. Snake plants, yes, they are regarded as a low light plant, but they always do better when they do have more light, and that's when you get those very tall looking snake plants. So I'm gunning for that with a snake plant here. I've nicknamed him Big Boss because solid snake. Yeah. Out here we have my peace lily that I've been caring for. We've had this since I lived in Calgary, and it was very sad in Calgary because this is another low light plant that's supposedly do well in lower lightings, but we found that it to just survive and be kind of sad and kind of saggy. I kind of took over caring for this when it was moved outside my bedroom door, and I just kind of started just dumping water, like extra water from my water bottle, into it when I'd walk by, and then it started, you know, looking better, and I was, oh no, I have to care for this plant now, kind of moment. So yeah, this is Simon Pegg, the peace lily, and it is doing well. It is putting out 6 blossoms or flowers at the moment, and that's exciting. And the other plants that we have out here in the hallway are my 2 ferns. This one is our larger fern. Her name is Large Marge, and you can kind of see here that she's recovering from a bald spot, I guess is the best way I put it. And that is because when we had initially moved back here, she had gotten very big, but she had also gotten very dry and just kind of upset. So we just thought it would be best to cut her in half. So then, because one half of it looked a lot worse than the other, so we're like, okay, we set aside to look after the healthy half. But looking at the not so healthy half that we took off, there was still a lot of like growth going on with it. I mean, not great growth, but there was still growth. So that became Fernando here, who we decided to keep around. We put it in a nursery pot and we stuck it in the plant nursery, or the sick bay, I guess, for a little while, and it's been sitting there for like a year and a half, but it's finally come up to the point where I thought it looked healthy enough and it had enough stuff going for it where I could put it into a bigger pot. And then you can kind of see here it's got some new growth happening, so that's exciting for Marge and Fernando. Fun little thing about ferns, if you're keeping one and it just doesn't seem happy, just try like misting it on occasion, because ferns are very high humidity plants, or they enjoy high humidity, I should say. So just like a little spray every so often. If they're really cranky looking, try just like taking them into the shower and just giving them a little bit of a rinse, and they might perk up for you. So yeah, them's Marge and Fernando. Alright, next plant here is technically not mine, but I do spend a lot of time looking after him, or at least when I do my weekly waters, he often gets a lot of attention from me as well. This is Frank the ficus, and we've had him since, we lived in Canada, so many, many years, and even then we don't actually know how old he is because he was inherited at a different time. Also, please excuse Marley coughing in the background. She hears me talking, so she's like, oh, I'd like to join in. I don't bark anymore, I just cough. Anyway, so he's been a big boy. He's lived in Canada to then Calgary, and now back to here in Ontario again. He's doing pretty sweet. We have some little fun decorations in here. Not much else to say about Frank, but he's doing well, and we love Frank. Beside Frank here, we have my very sad, very pale aloe vera, and the reason why it's in this state is because I had it dormant over winter, so that's when you have a succulent or cactus, you just don't touch them in the winter, you just let them be, because that's when they technically hibernate as well, so they don't intake water very well. When it became spring, I was like, oh, I should water this, and then my mom had the exact same idea, so poor aloe became very overwatered. And also I had it in the incorrect soil. It was also very root bound at the same time too, so it just wasn't holding on to the nutrients it needed. And hello, there's Marley, she's looking out here too. But so I've repotted it, it's in a bigger pot now, it's in better soil that's, meant for it, and it has this one piece of growth here that does look much healthier, so fingers crossed she's okay. Now this is also technically not mine. Again, I've taken over care for it. This is our ivy. I don't know what variety specifically it is, but hey, it's an ivy, and it's surprisingly doing well because in our house, my mom has, generally speaking, very unlucky interactions with ivy, in which they either just get very sad or just get very forgotten about, or they get covered in mites. But this one has been doing very well, and has been just so very happy. And hello, here's Marley again. I think she wants to go outside. So yeah. We have the bigger piece of leaf. This used to also be much larger and also a lot sadder looking, because I know like this does look pretty sad. But it's like this because, like large Marge, it is recovering from surgery, because as it was much larger, I've separated into multiple smaller plants, just because this had just gotten too root bound, it had just gotten too big. But with this, you can definitely see it is recovering very well, because it has put out a lot of leaves since then. So it's recovering, it's doing well. I can show you those other surgically removed siblings in a little bit. Just hot tip, when you are separating your plants, make sure you water them lots. I mean, within reason for what the plant is normally supposed to have, just because like it has sustained trauma to its root system, and those need to be reestablished. So water is very good for encouraging that. So yeah, that's a very sad piece of leaf, but it's doing better. Now right here is a little succulent slash cactus. I don't actually know the variety of this one, but it came with my snake plant because it was in like a little group of like snake plant, succulent, succulent, succulent. But I ended up separating them just because like they had different watering requirements. Like the snake plant does need to be watered far more often than the succulents do, and it was killing my succulents, so I had to separate those. And this is the only one that really survived and is actually thriving. And the other ones kind of started falling apart, but I saved all the little parts, and I'm propagating them downstairs, so I'll show those to you in a little minute. Now this is technically not my plant, this is my mother's plant, but I've taken over watering it and caring for it. And this is, I believe, a golden pothos, but I'm not sure, just because we have this interesting coloration happening here. Now that it's getting more light, so it's maybe a different variety, because pothos is interesting because you have all these different varieties that exist, but once they are in the dark too much, they revert to their natural green color. So with that in mind, I don't have a clue what kind of pothos this is, but this is the one that I have from propagating upstairs with my my personal collection. So one of these days it'll turn into this lovely plant. Now, before we move on here, I just want to show off a couple little extra succulents that we have growing here. We have some little baby ones and some juvenile ones, I suppose. Again, these are technically not mine. I gave these to my mom to have in her laundry room, but I'm also still looking after them just because that's kind of the job around here. They're doing well. These were actually growing in our garden originally, and I borrowed some leaves from them to propagate downstairs, which again I will show you once we reach the nursery. Now finally we have the plants in the basement, and you might be thinking, Floyd, what are you doing? Why are you keeping your plants in the basement? There's no light down there. Also, I apologize, this is going to be loud, the furnace is on. But we have a fantastic window down here, and it is just been delightful for rehabilitating plants. So what we have down here, we have a beautifully very big overgrown China doll who was supposed to go back upstairs but can't because she's too big to move upstairs, so she just lives in here. She is absolutely thriving. She had sustained a lot of frost damage last year because we had forgotten to bring her in at the end of the season. So she got moved down here and she's just really taken off. I had to rotate it recently because this was getting too big and I couldn't get to my succulents. So yeah, again, remember, rotate your plants, but she's already taking over again. And then also we have my little succulent propagation corner. And this is the sick bay for some, because these ones got forgotten about in a closet for a long time, so they're recuperating. And here, this is my pride and joy right now because look at how many of these are taking off. They're starting to root. I'm so excited for these to go. So these are just assorted succulents. These were the ones that I had taken apart. They're still here. They're propagating. I've cloned it basically. These are the ones that I had got from the garden. A little curious about these ones just because these ones are so small. Don't know if those ones are going to take off very well, but this one I have pretty high hopes for. So that is this is the nursery station. Also bonus plants, I suppose. I don't know what half of these are called, but we do have my aquatic plants that I've been caring for, and they are filling out wonderfully, and it's just been great for the fish. So yeah, little mini shout out to all of the aquatic plants going around here and my fish friends. Hello everyone. And then finally we have the rest of the peace lilies that are in my care. So these are going to be watered once again just because they're in a very delicate time. This one in the middle I think is doing the best just because I actually think it has the strongest root system or received the strongest root system after the surgery. So you can kind of see in order how much of a root system these ones have, and this one is very sad and droopy. So I don't have high hopes for it, but we're gonna keep watering it. We're gonna water and look after it till there's no debate. But yeah, this has been my plant tour. This is everybody who's in my care right now, and yeah, them's the plant fam. And there's Marley again. Hello. Oh, there we go. Focus. There she is. Hi. But yeah, thanks indulging in my current obsession. So thank you. Oh, one plant I forgot to mention. So I talked about water propagation. And that is essentially, you take a cutting from a plant just kind of before the node, and I'll insert a picture of what a plant node looks like. And you just put them in water. This is great for me because I'm nosy and I love to see it grow, but you can see here the root structure growing off the stem of the plant. So this one is basically ready to put in soil at this point, but its neighbor here, I don't know, I might leave it in here a little longer. I don't know if it's gonna germinate or not, but I'm gonna keep it in here basically until it rots. And then I know I'm sure then it's not gonna start rooting. But yeah, you can do this with almost any kind of plant. Again, you do your research beforehand to make sure it's viable to do this, but this is a great way to have lots of plants.